Dr. Catherine Mitchell's fingers hovered over the holographic interface as she watched Earth's night side shimmer with artificial constellations of city lights. The senior quantum defense architect had spent 15 years preparing for this moment, but the weight of the decision still made her hands tremble. Behind her, the Lunar Defense Institute's command center hummed with controlled chaos as her team tracked the incoming Craven warships. 10 minutes until they exit hyperspace, Dr. Mitchell. Lieutenant Sarah Rodriguez reported, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. Their trajectory suggests they're targeting major population centers. Catherine nodded, her reflection in the reinforced windows showing the same determined expression she'd worn during countless simulations. The difference was that this time, millions of lives hung in the balance. Project Masquerade, humanity's greatest deception, had kept Earth safe for 3 centuries. Now she had to decide whether to maintain that illusion or reveal humanity's true capabilities. "Status of the holographic grid?" she asked, pulling up the Global Defense Network's status report with a gesture. "Operating at 98% efficiency," Commander Michael Torres answered from his station. "The Cravens still think they're seeing our actual cities. Surface sensors confirm their quantum scans are being fed the data we want them to see." Catherine allowed herself a small smile. The primitive scanning technology Earth had shown the galactic community was anything but. While other species had pursued purely quantum-based systems, humanity had developed hybrid technologies that could manipulate those same quantum signals. To the Craven, Earth's defenses appeared to be little more than basic missile interceptors and primitive energy shields. The reality was far more sophisticated. "Dr. Mitchell," a synthesized voice announced, "the Craven fleet's exit point has been calculated. They're positioning for a simultaneous strike on 12 major cities." "Thank you, Atlas," Catherine replied to the quantum eye. Unlike the simplistic computer systems Earth claimed to rely on, Atlas represented the pinnacle of human artificial intelligence, a fact known to fewer than 100 people worldwide. The command center's main display showed the approaching Craven fleet, 37 warships, each carrying enough firepower to level a continent. Under normal circumstances, such a force would be overwhelming. But these weren't normal circumstances. "They're deploying their targeting drones," Sarah reported. "Standard Craven doctrine. They'll map our defensive grid before launching their main strike." Catherine straightened her lab coat, a habit from her teaching days that surfaced whenever she made important decisions. "Atlas, initiate Protocol Omega. Authorization Mitchell 7 Delta 9. Protocol Omega initiated." Atlas confirmed. "Quantum entanglement network is ready. Holographic cities are primed for transition." For centuries, humanity had maintained 2 versions of every major city. The visible version, built largely for show, and the real cities, hidden beneath sophisticated quantum fields. What the Craven were seeing, what the entire galactic community had been seeing, was essentially an elaborate stage play. 5 minutes to hyperspace exit, Michael announced. "Dr. Mitchell, we need your final authorization." Catherine took a deep breath, remembering the words of her predecessor. "Our greatest weapon isn't our technology, it's their belief in our weakness." She placed her palm on the authentication scanner. "Initialize defensive configuration alpha," she commanded. "Prepare to transition all metropolitan centers to actual locations on my mark. And send word to Admiral Cooper. Project Masquerade has entered its final phase." The command center erupted in controlled activity. Across Earth's surface, hidden quantum generators powered up, ready to drop the centuries-old illusion. In orbit, thousands of seemingly defunct satellites, disguised as space debris, prepared to reveal their true nature. 3 minutes, Sarah called out. "Craven weapons are hot." Catherine squared her shoulders and faced her team. "Send one last warning to the Galactic Council. They should know that what happens next was the Craven's choice, not ours." As the message was transmitted, she turned back to the window. Soon, the night sky would erupt with weapons fire, and humanity would finally show its true face to the galaxy. She only hoped the Council would understand why they had hidden for so long. The first Craven ships began emerging from hyperspace, their hulls gleaming with malevolent purpose. "May our ancestors forgive us for revealing their life's work," Catherine whispered. Then, louder, "Atlas, execute Protocol Omega. Show them who we really are." High Counselor Zixvena's crystalline form pulsed with barely contained fury as she faced the emergency session of the Galactic Council. The massive chamber, with its sweeping views of the galactic core, had never felt more suffocating. Above them, the quantum feed displayed the Craven attack fleet in real time, their weapons already charging. "You fools," she addressed the Craven ambassador, her translator struggling to convey the depths of her disgust. "You were warned about Terra's unusual quantum signatures, yet you chose violence over investigation." Ambassador Krulvor of the Craven Empire rose from his seat, his scaled armor clicking as he moved. "The humans are barely beyond primitive rocket technology. Their quantum signatures are random noise, nothing more. This strike will prevent them from becoming a future threat." The chamber's holographic displays flickered as the Craven fleet emerged from hyperspace. Representatives from 17 species leaned forward, some expecting a swift execution of a primitive race, others dreading the slaughter to come. "Missiles launching," the automated Council observer announced. "Target locations: New York, London, Tokyo, Moscow." "Observe closely," Zixvena interrupted, her crystalline edges sharp with anticipation. "You're about to learn why my species has advocated for Terra's admission to the Council for the past 50 years. The chamber fell silent as the first wave of Craven missiles streaked toward Earth's atmosphere. Their quantum-guided warheads were designed to penetrate any known defense system. But what happened next made even the most seasoned Council members question their understanding of physics. The targeted cities shimmed, rippled, and simply ceased to exist. "Impossible." Krulvor slammed his armored fist on the Council table. "Our scans showed no defensive capabilities of this magnitude." Zixvena's form pulsed with dark amusement. "Did they? Or did they show you exactly what the humans wanted you to see?" The quantum feed split into multiple views, showing the true scope of what was unfolding. Where major cities had stood moments before, there was nothing but empty landscape. No ruins, no destruction. Just pristine, untouched Earth. "Council members," a new voice cut through the chaos. The quantum feed shifted to show Dr. Catherine Mitchell, standing calmly in what appeared to be a lunar command center. "For centuries, we have maintained a careful illusion. What your sensors detected as our cities were sophisticated holograms, powered by technology we developed before we mastered spaceflight." The Council erupted in shocked murmurs as the feed showed the real Earth cities emerging from quantum shadows, their true locations revealed for the first time. Massive structures of advanced alloys and energy fields stood where satellites had shown only modest development. "The Craven missiles," one of the younger Council members noted, "they're passing through the old coordinates. There's nothing there to hit." Ambassador Krulvor's scales had paled to a sickly green. "Redirect targeting. Find the real cities." "I'm afraid that won't be possible," Dr. Mitchell continued, her voice carrying the weight of centuries of preparation. "Your quantum targeting systems are, as we speak, being redirected to empty space. You see, we never stopped using binary computing because we never started. It was another layer of deception." Zixvena turned to address the Council formally. 300 years ago, my species attempted a similar strike against Terra. We found our weapons mysteriously missing their targets, our sensors showing impossible readings. We chose to investigate rather than escalate. What we discovered changed our understanding of technological development forever. The quantum feed showed Craven missiles exploding harmlessly in the upper atmosphere, their targeting systems completely confused by what appeared to be thousands of quantum signatures appearing simultaneously. "The humans," Zixvena continued, "chose a different path of advancement. While we pursued linear technological progress, they developed in all directions simultaneously, mastering deception and misdirection as thoroughly as they mastered physics. Dr. Mitchell's image reappeared. We come before the council now, not as primitives in need of guidance, but as equals who chose peace over confrontation for 3 centuries. The Craven Empire has forced our hand, but our response will show you who we truly are. The council chamber fell silent as Earth's true face was finally revealed to the galaxy. The age of deception was over. The age of understanding was about to begin. Admiral James Cooper stood on the bridge of the TDF Shadow Strike, his weathered features illuminated by the holographic displays surrounding his command station. What appeared to be a broken-down satellite to outside observers was, in reality, the flagship of humanity's hidden fleet. For 20 years, he'd commanded this vessel while it masqueraded as space debris, waiting for this moment. "Status report," he ordered, his voice carrying the calm authority of someone who had rehearsed this scenario countless times. Lieutenant Commander Rachel Santos gestured at the tactical display. Craven fleet holding position in high orbit. Their targeting systems are still trying to lock onto the Phantom cities. Quantum confusion protocols are working perfectly, sir. Cooper allowed himself a small smile. The Craven's mighty warships, now firing blindly at holographic targets, reminded him of children swinging at a piñata while blindfolded. Only this time, the piñata had never been there at all. "Signal the rest of the fleet," Cooper commanded. "Execute Operation Phantom Dawn." Across Earth's orbit, hundreds of seemingly derelict satellites and space debris began to change. Quantum fields collapsed, revealing sleek warships hidden beneath decades of careful camouflage. The TDF Shadow Strike's own transformation was particularly dramatic. Layers of false plating fell away like autumn leaves, revealing a vessel that would have made the most advanced Craven engineers weep with envy. "Sir," Santos reported, "fleet elements reporting ready. Ghost Squadron has emerged from lunar shadow. Spectre Wing is in position behind a Craven fleet." Cooper accessed the tactical net through his neural interface, another technology humanity had kept hidden. The quantum-enhanced display showed him everything. Every ship, every weapon, every fighter craft. His fleet had the Craven surrounded in a 3-dimensional web of firepower. "Open a channel to the Craven flagship," he ordered. "Let's see if we can end this without bloodshed." The main view screen flickered to life, showing the shocked face of Craven Fleet Commander Vorkath. The alien's scales had turned pale, his compound eyes widening as he took in the true appearance of Cooper's bridge. "This is Admiral James Cooper of the Terra Defense Fleet," Cooper announced, carefully maintaining an expression of professional neutrality. "Your missiles have expended themselves against holographic targets, and your fleet is surrounded. I suggest we discuss terms." "Impossible," Vorkath sputtered. "Our intelligence showed no signs of this level of technology. Your ships were primitive. Your weapons were basic projectiles and chemical rockets." Cooper's smile widened slightly. "Commander, did it never occur to you that a species capable of developing spaceflight might also be capable of deception? Everything you knew about us was what we wanted you to know." The tactical display updated, showing more of Earth's hidden capabilities. What the Craven had dismissed as random debris in the asteroid belt revealed itself to be a network of automated defense platforms. Seemingly empty regions of space rippled as stealth fighters dropped their cloaking fields. "Sir," Santos interjected, "Dr. Mitchell reports that quantum targeting is fully engaged. We can disable their weapons without damaging their life support." Cooper nodded, then addressed Vorkath again. "Your weapons currently target empty space. Your engines are about to experience an unexpected quantum shutdown, and your communication systems will only transmit on frequencies we allow. The question is, do we need to demonstrate these capabilities, or can we move directly to negotiations?" The Craven commander's response was cut short as his ship's lights flickered. Throughout his fleet, weapon systems went dark, engines powered down, and quantum computers struggled against human binary viral codes. "Admiral," Lieutenant Marcus Chen reported from his station, All Craven vessels have been successfully contained. No casualties on either side. Cooper straightened his uniform. Signal the Galactic Council. Inform them that the Terra Defense Fleet stands ready to assist with peacekeeping duties once our full membership has been processed. He paused, then added, and remind them that what they're seeing now is only what we're choosing to reveal. Some secrets are best kept for another day. As his orders were relayed, Cooper watched the Craven ships drift helplessly in space. Humanity had spent centuries preparing for this moment, developing technologies that worked sideways to conventional advancement. The galaxy was about to learn that sometimes the most dangerous predator was the one that chose not to bare its teeth until it had to. Lieutenant Emma Reeves cracked her knuckles as she faced the curved wall of holographic displays in the Cyber Warfare Division's underground command center. Her team had spent years preparing for this moment, maintaining the facade of Earth's primitive binary systems while developing something far more insidious. Status of the quantum intrusion shield, she asked, watching as streams of alien code flowed across her screens. The Craven were trying to hack their way back into their own systems. They're still trying to brute force their way through what they think is our obsolete firewall, Technical Sergeant Mike Thompson reported, barely containing his grin. They haven't realized it's a honeypot yet. Emma nodded, her fingers dancing across the neural interface pad. The Craven's quantum computers were impossibly advanced by conventional standards, and that was exactly their weakness. They'd evolved so far beyond simple binary that they'd forgotten their roots. Launch Protocol 0, she commanded. Let's show them why sometimes the old ways are the best ways. Around her, 20 of Earth's best cyber warfare specialists initiated their attack. Their weapon wasn't some advanced quantum virus or sophisticated AI. It was pure, brutal, primitive binary code, the digital equivalent of a stone axe in an age of laser swords. First wave penetrating their quantum shields, reported Lieutenant Sarah Foster from her station. They're laughing at us, ma'am. The Craven systems are treating our code as an archaeological curiosity. Emma allowed herself a small smile. Good. Tell me when the binary reaches their core processors. The massive display showed the progress of their attack. To the Craven's quantum systems, Earth's binary code appeared as simple as ancient hieroglyphs. Their defenses were designed to stop quantum intrusion attempts, dimensional hacks, and AI warfare. Nothing in their database suggested they needed protection from something so elementary. Binary code has reached their core systems, Thompson announced. They're still not mounting any meaningful defense. Their quantum processors are. Wait, something's happening. Emma leaned forward. Show me. The main screen shifted to show the status of the Craven fleet's computer cores. The binary code had reached their quantum processors, and the result was spectacular. Like trying to run a steam engine on antimatter, the primitive code created chaos in the sophisticated quantum systems. Their quantum processors can't handle the computational simplicity, Emma explained to her team. They're trying to quantum process basic binary operations. It's like trying to use a supercomputer to count on your fingers. The system doesn't know how to scale down. Multiple system failures across the Craven fleet, Foster reported, her voice rising with excitement. Their quantum cores are crashing. They can't handle the paradox of processing our primitive code. Emma watched as ship after ship in the Craven fleet went dark. Their quantum computers, unable to process something so fundamentally simple, were forcing emergency shutdowns. The mighty warships, dependent on quantum processing for everything from life support to artificial gravity, were being defeated by the digital equivalent of stone tools. Ma'am, Thompson called out, we're receiving a priority message from Admiral Cooper. The Craven commander is requesting terms of surrender. Our attack worked better than anyone anticipated. Send word to the Admiral, Emma replied, watching the last Craven systems crash. Tell him the cyber warfare phase is complete. Their ships are completely neutralized, and better yet, their quantum cores will need a full reset. They won't be causing any trouble for at least 72 hours. As her team celebrated around her, Emma pulled up the historical archives on her personal display. There was a quote she'd always loved from her academy days. The more sophisticated the system, the more vulnerable it is to simple attacks. The Kraven had built their entire civilization on quantum computing, never imagining they'd face an enemy willing to fight with digital stone axes. They'd forgotten that sometimes the crude solution was the most effective one. "Send a full report to Dr. Mitchell at Lunar Command," Emma ordered. "Tell her Project Stone Age was a complete success. Sometimes the best way to defeat the future is with the past." As she watched the disabled Kraven ships drift in space, Emma couldn't help but wonder what other primitive technologies humanity had in its arsenal. After all, they'd spent centuries preparing for this day, and this was just the beginning. Colonel David Martinez adjusted his standard-issue infiltration suit as his team's stealth shuttle approached the Kraven flagship. After 15 years studying Kraven psychology and biology, he was about to put theory into practice. The massive vessel hung dead in space, its quantum systems still paralyzed by Lieutenant Reeves' cyber attack. Remember, he addressed his 12-person team through their neural link. "No energy weapons, no advanced tech. We go in silent, using only sonic devices calibrated to Kraven physiology. Let their own minds do the work." Captain Lisa Reynolds checked her sonic emitter, a device that looked deceptively simple. "Confirmation on frequencies, sir. We don't want to accidentally hit their rage triggers instead of their fear response. Stay between 18.3 and 18.7 Hz. Martins replied, recalling thousands of hours of research. Their evolutionary history makes them particularly susceptible to sounds that mimic their ancient predators. Their military training can't override millions of years of instinct. The shuttle's stealth systems, masked by the same quantum shadowing that had hidden Earth's cities, brought them alongside one of the flagship's emergency airlocks. While the Kraven crew struggled to restore their systems, Martinez's team attached their boarding module. "Breach in 3. Lieutenant James Wilson reported. "Sonic dampeners active. They won't hear us coming." Martinez nodded, watching the airlock's molecular seals dissolve under their specialized tools. Another piece of primitive technology that worked precisely because it wasn't what the Kraven expected. "Team 1, take engineering," he ordered as they entered the ship. "Team 2, with me to the bridge. Remember, steady sonic emission, maintain the fear frequency. We want them scared, not fighting." The teams split up, moving through the darkened corridors. Emergency lighting cast everything in a deep red glow, a color that Kraven evolution had linked to safety and security. They'd never adapted their emergency systems to account for potential psychological warfare. "First contact," Reynolds reported through the neural link. 20 Kraven engineers, activating sonic emitters now." Martinez watched through the shared neural feed as the Kraven crew members suddenly froze. Their scaled skin began to pale, their compound eyes widening as the carefully calibrated sound waves triggered primitive fear responses. Within seconds, they were backing away from their stations, their military training crumbling before millions of years of evolutionary programming. "They're not even trying to fight," Wilson observed as they approached the bridge. "The sound. It's like their bodies are telling them they're surrounded by invisible predators." "That's exactly what's happening," Martins confirmed. "We study the apex predators that hunted their ancestors. These frequencies mimic the hunting calls that their species learned to fear before they developed sentience." The bridge doors loomed ahead, sealed by emergency protocols. Martinez signaled his team to take position as Wilson prepared the molecular dissolvers. "Bridge team, prepare for entry," Martinez commanded. "Full spectrum sonic deployment on my mark. Remember, we're not here to harm them. Fear alone will do the job." The doors dissolved, and Martinez's team swept onto the bridge. The Kraven command crew, including Fleet Commander Vorkath, spun to face them. Before any of them could reach for weapons, the sonic emitters activated. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The mighty warriors of the Kraven Empire, renowned for their ferocity in battle, found themselves facing an enemy they couldn't fight. their own instincts. One by one, they backed away from their stations, some dropping to their knees, others pressing themselves against walls. Fleet Commander Vorkath, Martins announced, his voice calm and controlled. Your ships are disabled. Your crew is incapacitated, and your options are extremely limited. The Craven commander, fighting against his body's involuntary reactions, managed to speak. How are you doing this? We can't detect any energy weapons, no neural disruptors. Martinez approached slowly, adjusting his sonic emitter to maintain the precise frequency. Sometimes the simplest solutions are the most effective. Your species spent millions of years learning to fear certain sounds. Did you think that evolution would forget just because you learned to build spaceships? As the last of the bridge crew succumbed to their instinctive fear responses, Martinez opened a channel to Admiral Cooper. Bridge secured, sir. The flagship is under our control. No casualties, no resistance, and most importantly, no advanced technology required. Sometimes, the old ways really are the best ways. Ambassador Rebecca Winters stood before the Galactic Council, her simple black suit a stark contrast to the ornate robes and bioluminescent displays of the alien representatives. The massive chamber hummed with tension as real-time feeds showed the disabled Craven fleet drifting in Earth's orbit. Distinguished members of the Council, she began, her voice carrying none of the tremor that might be expected from a primitive species addressing the galaxy's ruling body. Earth stands ready to present its terms. High Counselor Zixvin's crystalline form pulsed with approval. The other council members shifted in their seats, still processing the revelations of the past few hours. Their quantum feeds showed the aftermath of humanity's defense. Holographic cities that had fooled the galaxy for centuries, a hidden fleet that had emerged from disguised debris, and a Craven armada brought low by unexpectedly simple weapons. Before we begin, Rebecca continued, each gesture and expression carefully chosen to trigger specific psychological responses in different species. I want to address the question I see in many of your minds. Why did we hide? The Volsari representative, a being of pure energy contained within an environmental field, flared bright orange, a sign of agitation. Yes, explain why Earth deceived the galactic community for 3 centuries. How can we trust anything you say now? Rebecca smiled, the exact width and duration calculated to convey confidence to predatory species and harmlessness to prey species simultaneously. We hid because you gave us no choice. When humanity first detected alien civilizations, we saw how the galaxy treated emerging worlds. The strong demanded tribute. The technologically advanced exploited the developing. The old powers treated new species as pawns in their ancient games. She paused, letting the silence carry weight. The council members who had participated in such practices shifted uncomfortably. So we chose a different path, she continued. We advanced in secret, showing you what you expected to see while developing in ways you never imagined. Every dismissive report about Earth's primitive technology, every patronizing assessment of our development, they all served our purposes. The quantum feeds displayed new images, Earth's true cities emerging from their quantum shadows, revealed in their full glory. Structures that defied conventional engineering, transportation systems that blended multiple technologies, and defense systems that had remained invisible to the most advanced scans. Now our terms are simple, Rebecca announced, her tone shifting to one that triggered instinctive respect in hierarchical species. Earth will take its place on this council, not as a junior member, but as a full partner with unrestricted trading rights. The Craven Empire will issue a formal apology for their unprovoked attack, and in return, we will share some of our defensive technologies with the Council. The Craven ambassador, still pale from his fleet's defeat, started to object but fell silent as Rebecca turned to face him. Her body language triggered subtle submission responses in his species psychology. You're wondering why our terms are so lenient, she said, addressing the unspoken question in the chamber. By your standards, we could demand much more. The Craven fleet lies helpless in our orbit. Their most advanced weapons were defeated by our most basic systems. We could dictate terms that would cripple their empire. She let that sink in before continuing. But Earth's strength lies not in conquest, but in understanding. We studied every species in this chamber, learning your psychologies, your evolutionary responses, your deepest instincts. We learned that true power comes not from forcing compliance, but from making others want to comply. The council chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Every gesture, every word of her speech had been calculated to affect each species differently, playing on instincts and evolutionary responses they didn't even know they had. The choice is yours, Rebecca concluded. Accept Earth as equals, and gain allies who understand the galaxy in ways you never imagined. Or refuse, and face opponents who know exactly which buttons to push, metaphorically and literally. As the council members began their deliberations, Rebecca maintained her carefully neutral expression. The real victory wasn't in the terms themselves, but in making the council believe accepting them was their own idea. After all, the finest weapons in humanity's arsenal weren't their hidden fleets or quantum technologies. They were understanding and patience. Dr. Catherine Mitchell walked through the council's private chamber, her footsteps echoing off ancient walls that had witnessed thousands of years of galactic politics. The room's quantum field dampeners ensured absolute privacy, though she noted with amusement that they operated on principles humanity had surpassed decades ago. Project Masquerade wasn't just about hiding our cities, she began, addressing the select group of council members cleared for this level of disclosure. It was about understanding how advanced civilizations think, and then developing in directions they'd never consider. The holographic display in the center of the room activated, showing Earth's technological development path, not as a linear progression, but as a spiral moving in multiple directions simultaneously. While you focused on quantum computing, we explored quantum binary hybrid systems, she explained, gesturing to one branch of development. While you pursued energy weapons, we developed weapons that used psychology and sound. Every time you zigged, we deliberately zagged. High Counselor Zixvina's crystalline form shifted in a pattern indicating deep interest. Your ships weren't primitive at all, were they? They were deliberately designed to appear obsolete. Catherine smiled. Each vessel in our fleet is a study in contradictions. They use gravitational engines disguised as chemical thrusters, quantum cores hidden behind apparent fusion reactors, and hull materials that can change their fundamental properties on command. The display shifted to show the true nature of Earth's technological base. What appeared to be simple satellites were actually nodes in a vast quantum network. Ordinary communications arrays concealed technology that could manipulate the fabric of space-time itself. But the greatest deception, Catherine continued, wasn't in what we built. It was in how we thought. We knew we couldn't match the galaxy's technological head start. So we chose to think sideways. We developed technologies that worked on principles your scientists had dismissed as dead ends centuries ago. She pulled up another display, showing the true extent of Earth's hidden research facilities. Underground cities dedicated to scientific advancement, orbital laboratories disguised as debris, and entire research branches that explored paths abandoned by other civilizations. Our first contact wasn't an accident, she revealed, causing several council members to shift uncomfortably. We detected your civilizations centuries ago. Every bumbling diplomatic interaction, every seemingly primitive response to advanced technology. It was all carefully choreographed. The mechanoid representative, a being of pure data and energy, pulsed with what might have been respect. You turned your perceived weakness into your greatest strength. Exactly, Catherine agreed. We knew we'd eventually face a species that would attack first and ask questions later. So we prepared. Every piece of primitive technology we showed you was designed to fail in exactly the right way, teaching us how your advanced systems worked while convincing you we weren't a threat. The display showed footage from the recent Craven attack, but from a different perspective. It revealed layers of defensive systems activating in perfect sequence, each one built on principles that the galaxy's finest scientists had dismissed as obsolete. "Even now," she said, her voice carrying a note of pride, "you're only seeing what we choose to show you. Earth's true capabilities remain hidden, not because we don't trust you, but because we understand something fundamental about advanced civilizations." "And what is that?" asked the Volsari representative, their energy form flickering with curiosity. "That the more advanced you become, the harder it is to conceive of simple solutions. You look for complexity because that's what you understand. We weaponize that assumption." Catherine touched a control, and the holographic display vanished. Project Masquerade wasn't just about hiding our technology. It was about hiding our way of thinking. We developed in every direction at once, mastering technologies you'd abandoned and exploring paths you'd never considered. She faced the council members directly. "Earth doesn't want to dominate the galaxy. We don't seek revenge or reparations. What we want is understanding. Recognition that different paths of development are not only possible but necessary for our collective survival." As the council members processed this revelation, Catherine allowed herself a small smile. The true victory wasn't in defeating the Craven fleet. It was in showing the galaxy that sometimes the most powerful technology was the ability to think differently. High Counselor Zixvina stood before the full Galactic Council, her crystalline form glowing with an intensity that reflected the historical magnitude of the moment. The chamber's quantum feeds displayed Earth's representatives taking their seats for the first time as full council members. 342 years ago, she began, her translator conveying the weight of memory in her voice. "My species launched what we believed would be a simple conquest of a primitive world. We were the 7th expansion fleet, pride of the Crystal Dominion. And Earth was just another point on our manifest destiny." The chamber fell silent as archived footage appeared on the quantum feeds. Massive crystalline ships entering Earth's solar system, their weapons charged and ready. What we found instead was confusion. Our targeting systems failed in ways we couldn't explain. Our quantum sensors showed impossible readings. Our fleet's most advanced systems began experiencing what appeared to be random malfunctions. Dr. Catherine Mitchell and Ambassador Rebecca Winters exchanged knowing looks from their new council seats. Admiral Cooper, seated beside them, maintained his professional composure, but his eyes held a glimmer of satisfaction. "We had two choices," Zixvina continued. "We could press our attack, assuming our technological superiority would prevail, or we could stop and investigate why our systems were failing. Unlike the Craven, we chose curiosity over aggression." The feeds showed new footage. Crystal ships launching probes instead of weapons, initiating scans instead of attacks. What we discovered changed our civilization forever. The humans hadn't just prepared for invasion. They had prepared for understanding. Every system failure we experienced was designed not to destroy our ships, but to teach us something about ourselves. She gestured, and the feeds displayed complex data streams. Their defensive systems were programmed to fail in ways that revealed our weapons' fundamental principles. Their primitive communications taught us about our own quantum bias. Even their apparent technological gaps were carefully crafted lessons. The Craven ambassador, still newly appointed after the recent conflict, shifted uncomfortably in his seat. But the greatest lesson, Zixvina's voice carried across the chamber, wasn't about technology at all. It was about perspective. Humanity showed us that true advancement isn't just about moving forward. It's about moving in every direction at once. She turned to face the Earth delegation directly. "You never wanted to just survive our attacks. You wanted to teach us, to show us what we've forgotten in our race toward technological supremacy. Each seemingly primitive aspect of your civilization was a carefully crafted mirror, reflecting our own assumptions back at us." Dr. Mitchell stood, her voice carrying the authority of centuries of human planning. Every civilization reaches a point where they believe they understand everything. We chose to make our strength not in knowing everything, but in always questioning what we think we know. Ambassador Winters joined her. Earth's cities weren't hidden just for protection. They were hidden to show you that reality isn't always what you perceive. Our primitive technology wasn't just a deception. It was an invitation to question your assumptions about progress. Admiral Cooper completed the Trinity. And our military response wasn't designed just to defeat enemies, but to demonstrate that strength comes in many forms. Sometimes the most powerful weapon is the ability to make your opponent stop and think. Zix Venus form pulsed with agreement. The Crystal Dominion learned this lesson centuries ago. We abandoned our expansion plans not because Earth defeated us, but because they showed us a better path. And now, the Craven Empire has learned the same lesson. The quantum feeds showed Earth's true cities, no longer hidden by holograms or quantum fields. They were marvels of engineering that combine multiple technological approaches, visual representations of humanity's multifaceted development philosophy. Let this day mark not just Earth's admission to the Council, Zix Venus concluded, but the beginning of a new era in galactic civilization. An era where we recognize that true wisdom lies not in knowing the path forward, but in understanding that there are infinite paths to explore. As the council chamber erupted in approval, Dr. Mitchell smiled. Humanity had achieved something far greater than military victory or technological superiority. They had taught the galaxy how to think differently, and in doing so, had changed the course of civilization itself.